Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome for another film review. Tonight we've got an absolute treat for you. I've got a 1950s classic B-movie monster flick. And we're looking at Creature with the Atom Brain. Now, this came out in the 1950s. And it was who's it directed by? Is it Sam Katzman, something like that? And this he was renowned for making these sort of classic sort of B movies. These sort of movies ran alongside other films at drive-ins and stuff like that. And this is an absolute awesome film. It's it's a gangster film. So it's based on these gangsters, and one of these gangsters is trying to kill off other gangsters in the town. And what he's done, he's worked with a scientist to develop these sort of zombies, if you like, with these sort of atom sort of chemicals in their bodies, and they sort of like use them to do his deeds for him. And it starts off when we see like one of these sort of gangsters that are in his house, and he's just done a deal and he's putting his money in his safe. And we sort of see our zombie sort of walking towards his house. And it's kind of cool because it sort of cuts back to the science lab where this gangster guy is with the scientist, and they're watching on the screen in sort of like first person mode, so they're sort of controlling him. They're talking to him to tell him what to do, and he sort of goes up towards the window of this other gangster's house, and then he sort of bends all these bars, and then he smashes the window and breaks in. And obviously the gangster in the house is absolutely sort of like in shock, doesn't know who he is, whatever. But then the other gangster starts talking to him through him, and he recognizes his voice. So this is like a revenge sort of gangster movie. So he's getting revenge on his other sort of like sort of gangsters that are X-Men that have caused a lot of problems for him. And this gangster starts shooting the zombie, but has absolutely zero effect. And he grabs him and sort of like bends him in half. You don't see it, but you just see it like in the shadow. And he sort of kills this guy, and then he takes the money out the safe and climbs back through the window. And as he's doing that, the gangster's mob sort of comes in and starts shooting this zombie, but it has no effect on him. And then back at the lab, they're instructing him to go back to the car. And he gets in the car and drives away. And then we have a conversation with the gangster and the scientist, and the scientist ain't too pleased because his idea of this sort of like sort of zombie thing was to do good for people. Oh, sorry, I'm so tired lately. And to do good by people, and he wants to use them to help him do his criminal ways, but he's funded the scientist's work, so he kind of has to do what he wants to do. And then he's got bigger plans as well. When we've killed off everyone we need to, there's no stopping us to do whatever we want. And then we cut back to the murder scene, and we've got the police that have turned up, and they're doing investigations. And they're sort of like investigating the area and talking to sort of like the other the mob, and they notice that the blood and fingerprints are all luminous when you turn the lights off. So he cuts off some of the carpet, and he takes it to the detective and takes it to the lab, and then they run tests on it. And this is where they run different tests on it, and they discover that this blood isn't blood, it's radioactive sort of fluid. And so whatever it is that's being pumped into these people, I don't know if they're already dead, I think there probably are. I think there's already dead people, and they're sort of like these scientists and that is using them as like to do all these deeds for them. And so then that's when the investigation starts, and it's like that. Obviously, you've got the police chasing down where this is happening, and then you've got this guy sending out these zombies to do his dirty deeds for him. So if you want to find out what happens to all these dirty deeds, you need to watch it and find out, because that's all the synopsis I'm going to give you. What do I think of A Creature of the Atom Brain? I absolutely love this film. It's such a cool film. I love these sort of old B movies, black and white B movies. I think they're fantastic. And this was like it's really kind of like advanced for its time, because it was kind of mixing genres. You had your gangster mobster film with a horror film sort of mixed in it, and it's very difficult to think of any others around that time, you know, that were sort of like using horror elements within a gangster film. And this is pretty much what it is, and it's really, really well done. I love the look of the zombies with the drawn on line across their head. It's hilarious, but it's still quite cool, and it's quite eerie, and I find it quite spooky. When I first saw this years ago, the zombies used to really spook me out. Because I think, my God, you know, and I just thought, oh, you know, I found it quite creepy, and because it's in black and white, that just adds an extra sort of like dimension to like the creepiness of the film. The pluses of this edition, the transfer is phenomenal, really, really good. Arrow have done it again. They've knocked it out the wood with their sort of transfer. Absolutely fantastic transfer. It's really well acted for a B movie. These 50 films I think were really well acted, in the sense of like they really took it seriously, you know, their roles. Whenever you watch a 1950s sort of monster flick or whatever, they really sort of took it seriously, and it was fantastic. I mean, this was the era of the science horror film, I think, the 50s. So this is where we got all the sort of monster films and giant creatures and giant animals, all from laboratory experiments and things like this. So this was the era of the sort of science sort of fiction horror. And this is a brilliant story. Great story. Really cool. Negatives, there's none, because of its era. It's of its time. And if you like films that got a little bit of a detective feel about it and have a horror feel about it, this is right up your street, because it's right up mine. I'm going to score this an awesome watch and give it an 8 out of 10. Absolutely fantastic film. It's not a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 film, because it's not a classic sort of horror film or nothing like that. But for what it is, it's one of the best. And I love these sort of cult films. And I really need to do more of them on my channel. Lately, I've not done too many. I've been sort of concentrating on sort of some bigger releases that have been released from Arrow and things like that. But I really want to get some of these B movies done as well. Creatures of the Atom Brain, 8 out of 10. Any of you guys seen it? If you have, let me know down below what you think of it. I mean, it is one of it is a great film, and I got it in that Creatures Cold War. Creatures, the Cold War of the Creatures, something like that. Cold War Creatures. It's from the Arrow. I bought it from the Shocktober sale, because I've been after it for such a while, because I've been really wanting a really decent box set B movies. I mean, I've got my my Herschel box set, the Feast box set, but they're a little bit more, I don't know, a bit more extreme, where these are proper B movies, sort of drive-in movies, and I love them. Absolutely fantastic. Guys, before my next video, check out some more horror channels for me. Check out Horror Hands, the Horror Geek, Man v Film, RS Designs, Pizzaware, I'm the Ice Lord, Cat Watches Horror Movies, and a massive shout out to my horror loving son. Till next time, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I'll see you all soon.